Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, welcome. I am the Reverend Dr. Melva L. Sampson. I'm a digital griot. I curate this digital hush harbor and I trust Black women. Welcome to Pink Robe Chronicles. I invite you to click, like, and share right now. Let the folk know that we are here. Again, I invite you to click, like, and share to let everyone know that we are here, that we are on this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning to each of you. Good morning, good morning. Welcome, 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 welcome. One second. Come on in the room. 1 second. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am trying to make it public, Ashe. Good morning, good morning. Welcome, 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 welcome. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, friends. Good morning, friends. Good morning, good morning, good morning, friends. Hey, I see some names. We are live now on Facebook and YouTube. I invite you to share with your friends, your timeline. Good morning, welcome. Good morning, Glency and Angel and Barbara and Lawanda and Mia and Antonia. Good morning, Renee and Brandeis and Leah Jordan. Good morning to you. Good morning, Natasha. The Digi Deacon is over there holding down YouTube. Shay, honoring and respecting your sabbatical from socials. Thank you for being in the YouTube space. And she's holding down in two spaces, and in the PRC on the Facebook page. Good morning. I'm over here too. I see you on the YouTube. Hey, Dasha and Rihanna. Greetings, greetings, Lisa Weaver. Chat each other up. Let each other know that you're there. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to Darla and to Jennifer. Kaylin, good morning, doctor. Good morning, good morning. I love it. All of you watching from YouTube, welcome, welcome, welcome. Soon I'm gonna get it together and think ahead of time enough to somehow get another device and to go live on Instagram at the same time so that our Instagram friends will feel equally a part of this community. Before we move forward, my last look at YouTube, let me look again, y'all. Let's see. My last look, it doesn't show me on this page, but at last I checked, we were at 991 subscribers. And what is that? 8 away from 1,000? 9, 8, I think so. I'm not the best mathematician, but 8 away from 1,000. I would love right now, if you've not already subscribe to the Pink Robe Chronicles YouTube channel, for you to just go over, take a moment right quick, because I know that we can get to 8 right now that quickly. There are some things that we want to do in the community and that we want to take advantage of as a YouTube channel, and that all happens when you begins to happen when you get to at least 1,000 subscribers. So I would love for you to join. Also over there on YouTube are many of the previous Pink Robe Chronicle meditations. So if you're new to the community, you can go there and view many of the ones. You can binge on that. How about that? You can binge on previous Pink Robe Chronicles. So when you're looking for things to binge, you can binge out right over there on our YouTube channel under videos, all videos, both live and those posted. So I encourage you to do so, and I'm thanking you in advance. Good morning, Dr. Jamie. Good morning, Dr. Akosawa. Good morning, Dr. Susan. Good morning, Reverend Dana. Good morning, Reverend Carmen. Quell, hey, boo. Good morning, Dr. Paula and Amy and Carla. Hey, Hey, Reverend Kendra. Morning, morning, morning. I just literally saw your text, so I got you. The answer is yes. Thank you. We got 992. That's 7. All right, that's 7. I want to move forward also, and remember for those of you all who go with us into the clearing, we will be going over later again after this live session some prayer requests that I want to attend to over in that space. So I invite you to come present. We're at 997. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I believe we can. Come on and let's celebrate this morning, please. Get PRC if you love this community, if you love what this community is about, if you get your spiritual life in this community, if this community has been helpful, supportive to you in any way, please support us in this way simply by subscribing to our YouTube channel. We at 998. Y'all, I'm going to just listen. I'm going to get Baptist. I'm going to wait. Come on. What is that? 2 more? Come on. 2 more, 2 more, 2 more. 2 more. Let's go. Let's go. Isn't it fun? 2 more. I'm coming. For those of you who are new here, like, what's really going on? Just give me a sec. We gonna get right to it. But I believe that yes, Natasha, it only takes 2. It only takes you 2 more. 2 more of you. If you have a business page you want to subscribe. Have not our hearts been really, really touched by the work of our dear sibling Candace Marie Bimbo? For the last months, we have been moving through centering Black women's text as the sacred word. Y'all, we at 999. What's up, Maya? Come on with this 1,000. Come on. Come on with this 1,000. Let's go, PRC. Oh, my, 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 my. I'm ready to celebrate. I'm ready to celebrate. I'm ready to celebrate. Let's go. Let's go. We have been censoring Black women's text as sacred text. And so we, again, for those who are new to the community, we started with divining the self. And then we moved with Dr. Velma Love, and then we moved to Too Heavy a Yoke, Black Women and the Burden of Strength. From there, we engaged Reverend Dr. Monica Coleman's Making a Way Out of No Way. And just then, Dr. Bell Hooks transitioned. And so we read Talking Back Together as we mourned Ashe in community. And we, just were blessed. And from there, we have been richly blessed by our sister Candace's Red Lip Theology. And so I just wanted to sort of give you an idea of where we've been, Ashe, how we've been centering text. We got 1,000! We got 1,000 subscribers! Ashe, Aquaba, to those who are just joining, which is welcome, and Tree, Madasi Pa, which is thank you very much. Asante Sana, thank you so very much. This is more than just about gaining a social media following, but we are building a community, and I thank you for building this community. I thank you for believing so much in what we are doing, that we have gotten to this place, and the higher heights are not just for social recognition, but absolutely for individual and collective change, spiritual and social change. The work that we are doing, I just want to say thank you. I am over the moon. Ashe, oh, wow. 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 And then Restream says, congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with Restream chat. Ashe. Yes, y'all. Yes, yes, y'all. Yes, 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 yes. My God. Ashe. That's it. Ashe. Our work still needs you. And so I want to continue on. I'm super, as my DC siblings say, I'm sized. That was a old saying that I picked up from being in college. I'm sized. Ashe. Good morning. Good morning to all the folks over there who are viewing on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see that there are 16 of you now. Welcome. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Candace, if you will notice that today's Red Lip Theology, this is probably the last week that we will engage. It's called Resume Your Journey. Resume Your Journey. Red Lip Theology Part 3, Resume Your Journey. I am torn. I didn't know which to start first, to talk about resuming your journey first. They're both interconnected, or to go to this last part, the conclusion of Candace's text. And so I think what will be helpful is if we do this. I'm going to read the last few pages of her conclusion, which is a letter to her mother. I'm not going to start from the beginning. I'm starting probably around page 174. And then I'm going to tie that in with a reflection that I had on this morning, and I want to invite you to consider. As we are moving through and you are listening, when it comes to you, I want you to type in the chat what mattered most to you in this text, like what your walk away is, what your takeaway is from this text. Ashe. So let us begin then on page 173. Listen for a word from the Lord, Ashe, from none other than the one called Candace Marie Bimbo. Our conversations about being pregnant with me and how you felt you disappointed grandma are exactly how I felt anytime you'd look at me with a twinge of disdain for something I did. I don't know if it's whether we want to be perfect in our mother's eyes or we don't want y'all to see particular flaws. I still remember the things about me that made you say, Lord God, today. But who better to see and know my flaws than you? At every turn you sought to nurture the hold out parts of me. Who taught you to think like this about yourself? Because I didn't was a question you'd often ask when you became frustrated when my insecurities were on display. And because I was afraid to tell you fully about how I'd learned much of it in church. She's saying how she learned much of her insecurities in church. I just let my Facebook statuses do the talking for me and assumed you'd put two and two together. I was terrified to tell you. I thought raising me so tethered to the church was a mistake. Good morning to all of you all that are joining. And how could I? I wasn't a single black woman raising a child, a daughter, at the height of the crack epidemic and gang violence. I wasn't dealing with a girl hitting puberty at the same time super predators were roaming the streets of your community. I wasn't raising a little girl alone and wondering what I needed to do to ensure she didn't end up in the same situation years later. I didn't know what you were facing, and to come back and, as you would say, be Monday morning's quarterback would have been highly offensive. But it wasn't your fault. You and so many mothers trusted the church. You were looking for safe spaces where we could grow and thrive. What better place than the church? You didn't expect I'd hear sermons demonizing you, or that grown men would objectify and sexualize my budding body. You didn't know. I watched you work tirelessly in congregations alongside people who thought they were better than you simply because they were married. And some of these people forgot they weren't married when things first went down. You weren't the first person to be pregnant and unmarried in our family, and yet relatives led me to believe that you were. You weren't the first person to be pregnant and unmarried in our congregations, and yet Christians led me to believe you were. You and the sisters like you deserve so much more, and something tells me you knew my generation would be the one to call them on it. You'd often get quiet when I'd say, "You raised me this way." You knew it was true. Sometimes you'd say, "You raised me to be too independent," which wasn't your fault either. I had an amazing childhood, filled with adventure and wonder. As an adult, I think about how beautiful you made those years, and have no idea how you were able to do it. I can barely take care of myself sometimes, and by the time you were my age, you had a sixth grader. And while I'm grateful for your sacrifices, you weren't supposed to do this by yourself. Your protection partner was supposed to, your procreation partner was supposed to help you, and I hate that he didn't. If I'm honest, having a mother like you and watching the ways you had to do this alone and hearing you become fodder for Christian gossip, there's no way I couldn't become who I am now. These experiences form me. Call it me defending you. I know you wouldn't, but it just wasn't fair. Technically, the strength so many see in me is your fault. You told me there is power in one voice. You said it only takes one person to change conditions for others. Speak, Mama Bimbo. You really harped on that. I bet you didn't think I'd take it to heart this way. You raised me in the church because you believed it was best for me. But church wasn't the only space of my formation. Hip hop raised me too. I still remember learning the words to Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, "It Takes Two," and performing it. Come on, Gen X. Come on, Candace Millennial, and remind us Gen Xers. I want to rock right now. I'm Rob Bass and I came to get down. I'm not internationally known, but I'm known to rock a microphone because I get stupid. I mean outrageous. Stay away from, woo, I know that just came over me. I say, woo, it just came over me. Because I was 7, you saw that much differently than the time you caught me dancing and singing alone to Genuine's Pony. When I was in high school, the brash in your face, the attitude of hip hop was refreshing to me. It gave me permission to say what I felt and not let anybody run over me. Of course, it made for interesting conduct, grades in school, and seasons of punishment whenever report cards came out. These would be the times when you joke and say, "You found me in a cabbage patch," because there's no way I could be your child. I'm going to move over to 177. Actually, the end of 176. We both know I was on this path long before you passed away, but losing you changed everything. I couldn't think of devoting my life to a God who took you from me. Whew. Wow. Wow. I just had to let that breathe. I couldn't think of devoting my life to a God who took you from me. This is the realest conversation about grief, Dr. Jamie. So honest, so raw, so open. And I imagine, I don't even have to imagine, I know, certainly this, I have asked this question, right, of God. I have had these thoughts, Ashe, and I'm just appreciative of the affirmation that we get to read what we've often thought on paper that lets us know that we are not alone. That we are not alone, and absolutely that it's okay. That Spirit is big enough, invites, wants to have our questions and these declarations. Like, that is a part of the journey. That is a part of the walk. She continues, it wasn't fair, and while life isn't fair, God was going to get whatever smoke I had for the maker of heaven and earth. But as I have fumbled in the dark to find my way, I'm understanding the beauty of my formation. It is a gift that you raised me to use my voice to raise concerns otherwise ignored. More and more, I realize you knew exactly what you were doing. God really did make us all with love. Whenever you said this to me, it would sound trite. God made us with love. I knew God loves us. So whenever you said it, I would mumble under my breath. But this love God has for us is radical and transformative. It shaped a world full of possibility and promise. That hasn't changed. It's still there. Yet it is what we project onto God's love and how we try to control it that causes the problems. Candace Marie Bimbo. Candace Marie Bimbo. It is what we project onto God's love and how it is what we project onto God's love and how we try to control it that causes the problems. You taught me that when we allow God's love to have free reign in our lives, we can fully live into the reality of God's intention for us. Red Lip Theology has been my way of living into it, of reckoning with how racism, sexism, classism, and the politics of respectability left imprints on our faith communities, and how those imprints have bruised our hearts and spirits. Red Lip Theology has been my attempt to return to the love with which God made us. I'm clear that the insecurity I carried because of my origins and because I thought I couldn't be worthy of love broke God's heart. I also know God was disappointed by some of my decisions, rooted in that lack of self. And I further know God holds the people and ideologies that harm both of us accountable. They don't reflect God's heart, and folks knew better. And we can be better. Admittedly, I went to extremes in the infancy of my budding faith in feminism. I didn't know how to make sense of it, so throwing the baby out with the bathwater was the only route I saw. Now I realized how this was a source of so much frustration, of your frustration. And as I've gotten older and as I've had to adjust to life without you, I realized constructing and living faith is not as black and white as I made it seem. But I had to go to the extremes to find my way comfortably in the space where I believe I can best thrive and who I believe God has called me to be. When I set out to write this book, I didn't realize it would be about you more than anything. But why wouldn't it be? I am because you are. That's Ubuntu. Your faith in God and in yourself and your belief in me made my life possible. I know God because of you, and it's the seeds of independence you planted inside of me and the search for knowledge you inspired that propelled me to come to know God fully for myself, saving my life and leading me to accept that life without you can still be beautiful and full of color. I want to end there right at the bottom of page 178. I'm just going to read the little portion again. I know God because of you, and its seeds of independence you planted inside of me, and the search for knowledge you inspired that propelled me to come to know God fully for myself, saving my life and leading me to accept that life without you can still be beautiful and full of color. This is the word of God for the people of God, and together we say thanks be to God. I want to just read in our hearing as I continue this thought. I'm going to read it in a couple translations. Surely, Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 1, beginning with verse 1. These are the words that Moses spoke to all Israel beyond the Jordan in the wilderness, by way of Mount Seir. It takes 11 days to get to Kadesh Barnea from Horeb. In the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses spoke to the Israelites, just as the Lord had commanded him to speak to them. And the Lord our God spoke to us at Horeb, saying, You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Resume your journey. You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Resume your journey. One more time. You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Resume your journey. Yesterday, I was introduced to a song by our community member, Mel Christopher. And it's on my timeline on Facebook. You can go see it. It's a song with David Banner, hip hop artist David Banner, and Bun B. Was Talib Kweli on that? Talib Kweli and Toby Ngiwe is rapping the hook. And the hook says something like, I've been meditating. I talked to Yahweh. I told him I've been hesitating on some things. This is his language, and he told me heaven is waiting. I've been meditating. I talked to Yahweh about some things. I've been hesitating. He told me heaven is waiting. I'll say it again. I've been meditating. I talked to Yahweh about some things. I've been hesitating. He told me heaven is waiting. I said that those many times because it took those many times for it to click and for me to realize at least my interpretation of what that hook means. And I walked away from that interpretation thinking that, oh my, bro said I have been sitting with the presence, with the spirit, sharing how I've been hesitating on some things that I want to do, some things that I should be doing, some things that you're even directing me to do. I've been hesitating. And it's clear that in my meditation, I am hesitating. And he says that the response of Yahweh is that heaven is waiting. Heaven not being this mysterious place up in the sky beyond the stars that no one can reach or touch, but heaven as being an existence, heaven as being an experience in the here and now, heaven as being what it feels like when you step into, when you recognize and realize, in the words of Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon, when you recognize and realize the work that your soul must have, must feel like heaven. Heaven must be like this, right? That there is a way in which all feels right. When you make that connection, when you find your space and place in the world, listen, hear me clearly, in the world that can sometimes be connected to a conventional job and oftentimes not. But when you move out, when you honor and acknowledge the presence and the power of spirits, I translate his hook as saying that heaven is waiting. But as long as we're hesitating, as long as we're paused, and so it reminds me of this text and the way that Candace ends her text by reminding us that even in the midst of all she's experienced, that saving her life has led her to accept that life without her mother can still be beautiful and full of color, that she can still begin again. this text, Deuteronomy, the Hebrew people have escaped from Egypt, where the Pharaoh had enslaved their people. I believe, now, I'm no Bible scholar, but if my memory serves me well, that we can track this back to Genesis, for the Bible scholars on here, the end of Genesis, when Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his brothers, but when he got to Egypt, using his ability to translate dreams, he then landed a position within the administration. And as a result, he used his gift and his skill, and his ability to listen and have insight to store up food, so that when the famine would come, and it did, that their folk would be in a position to handle it. He was acknowledged and treated well, and as a result, he then was given permission to have his family and his people join him. The old Pharaoh died. I'm believing I'm on the right place, y'all. Let me know if I'm in an entirely different book, but I'm going to just keep going on. The old Pharaoh died and the new Pharaoh came in, but because there were so many of Joseph's people, because there were so many of the Hebrews, then the Pharaoh grew scared. Because he said, they outnumber us. And what if they decide that they want to rule, then we're going to have a problem. I believe that that was the beginning of their enslavement. And so for many years, the Hebrew people were treated badly. They were treated in ways that were inhumane. They had to make really a way out of no way by making bricks with straw. At this, Moses, who had run off because of something else, meets God, and God tells Moses, I'm going to use you to go rescue my people. Moses, afraid, does it scared, goes on and does it. After a series of plagues, the people move through what tradition says is the Red Sea. They walk through and were not harmed and get to safety on the other side. This is where we pick up in Deuteronomy, which means second. It is the second telling of the story, the second telling of the law. Just let me take my time and step in this. I haven't really preached in this space in a long time. And so he tells the people, is commanded, right? God sends them, the Deuteronomy text says that what should have only been a few days, that the words of Moses who had spoken to Israel while they were in the wilderness. They end up in the wilderness because instead of taking them a particular way, God, who is their compass, takes them another way because God believed, Yahweh, that they would complain. And so they did complain. When things got hard while they were on the journey of escape, on their road to emancipation, on their road to liberation, when things got a little tight, when they got a little hungry, when they got a little thirsty, they complained. And they said, why would you bring us out here to kill us? We were better off enslaved. And we thank God today for Dr. Joy DeGruy, who shares with us this term of post-traumatic slave syndrome. I believe that they were suffering from PTSD, as many of us still are. That is, when we have been given the opportunity after enduring grieving processes of separation, that we are not always able to see the possibilities that may be on the other side. And just because we see possibilities on the other side of something that was so detrimental, something that was so hurtful, it doesn't mean that that something was less hurtful, less harmful. It simply means, in my translation of Candace's work, that in the midst of doing all of that spiritual, mental, emotional, and even physical labor, all of the spaces where she has been able to be honest and ask questions about the tradition and even indict, right, the very tradition from which she and many of us come out of, that there are possibilities that we must resume again. This community, then, they got stuck. And it says in the text that in the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, that the Lord spoke to Moses saying, y'all done stayed at this mountain. What happened is, what should have been a straight shot, they started going around in circles. They started moving around the mountain. Y'all remember that? You got me going in circles. They started going around the same mountain for 40 years. Can you imagine? Even in our cars today, can you imagine? You keep circling the same block. You keep circling the same block, seeing the same signpost, seeing the same thing, seeing the same building, seeing the same tree. You just keep circling. You never decide to make a left instead of going right. You still keep circling and murmuring at the same time, frustrated that you cannot figure out how to get out of this maze, this circle that you have found yourself in, not recognizing that if only you would pause for a second, long enough to see, to hear, to realize. So God tells them, you have journeyed around this mountain long enough. Red Lip Theology. In Red Lip Theology, Candace offers us all of her mountains. She's telling us the story of all of the mountains, many at least. Couldn't be all because there's so many that we all have, but many of the mountains that she's been circling. And she finds the revelation. She receives the unction from the presence and the spirit of her mother from the ancestral realm, constructing her own understanding of God at this point, equipped with security, ashe, laying down insecurities. And what we get in Red Lip Theology is what it looks like when you resume your journey. Friends, can I help today? Can I help today? Resume your journey. Toby says, I've been meditating. I told Yahweh there's some things that I've been hesitating. And he told me that heaven is waiting. What was waiting for the Hebrew folk on the other side was this land that God promised. Now, I want to acknowledge here and put a pin right here. What is highly problematic to me is the way the story gets told is how God promised land that other people were already occupying. That is highly problematic to me. I question God on that, right? The ways in which God was gentrifying, if you will, or engaging in a type of urban removal, even in Palestine. And so it's highly questionable to me of what happens to the natives when we say God promised us this land. Well, we don't have to look far. I mean, we could only look to the the disorder that happens. And well, let me stay where I am. Ashe. Let me stay where I am. The word that we're simply left with is resume your journey. I want to just get all up in all of our business. What mountains have you continued to go around? For the last 10 years, the last 5 years, the last 20 years, last 40 years. Listen, the first generation had died. The folk who started out on the journey, I believe, had already died. So the second generation had inherited the fear of the first generation. My God. Jesus. Yee! Oh, my God. Hey, Jesus, Lord, today. Hey. Woo, my word. Jesus. Did you hear what I said? The second generation inherited the fear of the first generation. The second generation then continued, who would have been small, right? Continued to walk in the steps that the first generation walked in. I need to let it breathe for a minute because I need y'all to get it. What up, Jay Eidelberg? I need y'all to get it. I need y'all to get it so that we understand how important it is for us to get moving, and how important essentially what Candace has provided, essentially what Dr. Velma Love, with Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes, with Dr. Monica Coleman, with Dr. Bell Hooks, what others have provided for us are our walking papers, our emancipation papers. They are saying to us, get moving. That is how I'm interpreting that. Why are we hesitating on things? Because we are hesitant based on that data that has the data encoded on us, and even so much in our DNA, and that is colored by so much respectability that says, if you do it this way, you have to do it this way, or else people gonna look at you strange, or else they're gonna talk about you, or else they're not gonna include you, or else you are not gonna get the approval, or else it's not gonna work. And we don't recognize how that type of data paralyzes us. We experience a type of paralysis. And so that when we see comrades like my folk up here, Jay Ottoberg, who is doing it big on the west side of St. Louis, Shay, not connected to his own organization and institution, when one then bucks the system that's already in play, right? Then folk kind of look a little weird at you and wonder and try to block you out. If then he does not acknowledge and know that the unction, the very reason why he has been called to speak truth to power and do this kind of work, is not just because, oh, he thought of this, but it is a pushing of the spirit and an ancestral legacy to continue to refurbish and to revive for us, by us. Then he too will begin to go around the same mountain, and in 40 years, those who are from him will continue to do the same. The text says, you have gone around this mountain long enough. What is your mountain? You have gone around this mountain of doubt long enough. There was an interruption in their journey. There was an interruption between their escape and their freedom. There was an interruption, and that interruption had to do with their disbelief. Hey! Wayne Taft, listen, a very real interruption. So maybe it was disbelief, but maybe it was also grief, because grief is a very real thing. It's an interruption nonetheless, but it is a very real process that takes real time. That no one can push you to get through grief. But through reading Candace's text, I realized that when you let it, even when you don't know you're letting it, that even your frustration is still moving the process along, right? I want to go back and read this sentence again. This text is just so beautiful to me. Whoo! My goodness, Candace Bimbo. Here it is. When I set out to write this book, let's say when I set out to leave Egypt, when I set out to write this book, I didn't realize it would be about you more than anything. But why wouldn't it be? I am because you are. Your faith in God and in yourself and your belief in me made my life possible. I know God because of you, and it is the seeds of independence you planted inside of me and the search for knowledge you inspired that propelled me to come to know God fully for myself, saving my life and leading me to accept that life with you can still be beautiful and full of color. Faith, as I now understand it, necessitates a certain kind of fearlessness. It doesn't mean we are not afraid. We're human. There are times when things will scare us, but the fearlessness faith calls forth is the kind that leads us to believe. If we get up and face the sun and put one foot in front of the other, those steps will eventually open up paths of healing and more life. And fearlessness requires we be honest about the things causing those steps to be harder than they need to be. It is the courage to name the ways the church and religious doctrine, Dr. Susan, have been our stumbling blocks. Who's admitting that? Who's admitting that? Who is admitting that the mountain for you has been church and religious doctrine? Come on. I say, yeah, hallelujah. My God. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yee, sheesh. I just want to give you all a moment. Yes, Natasha, I admit. Yeah, 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 yeah. Who's admitting that? Yeah. And fearlessness requires we be honest about things causing those steps to be harder than they need to be. It is the courage to name the ways the church and religious doctrines have been our stumbling blocks. I see y'all. I see y'all. I see y'all. Resume your journey. You've traveled around this mountain long enough. Resume your journey. You've moved in circles that have proven unproductive long enough. Resume your journey. You've lived in the shadows long enough. Resume your journey. been behind the closet, under the closet, in the closet. Resume your journey. Been forced into silence in positions that you hold because of a myriad of reasons. Maybe intimidation, maybe it's fear on your part. Resume your journey. Self-loathing, self-abnegation, self-doubt, insecurities hold you captive. Resume your journey because you don't show up in what is the normative way of showing up. Resume your journey because you are divergent in various ways. Resume your journey. You have gone around this mountain long enough. The heaven that you look for, the heaven that you seek, is the same heaven that you hold back because you refuse to resume your journey, because you're hesitating on the things that Spirit has spoken to you. Resume your journey because that one thing that happened to you rocked your confidence. It shook you to the core. And so now you're questioning whether or not you're even able to do it. But thank God for a witness in the person and presence and power of Candace Marie Bimbo. Thank God for a witness for when folk told her that she could not write, when she had an agent who told her that there was no lane for her, when even the folks that we love the most have spoken ill will against her by telling her that she's not paid her dues, by telling her that this is not real scholarship, that this is not real work, by telling her that all she does is tweet, by inflicting upon her those same oppressive ways of knowing and being, same oppressive strategies, same oppressive processes that we demand people to participate in. Yet it is those very processes that we are asking God to part the Red Sea so that we can escape from them, only for us to escape and begin to murmur because we want to go back to making bricks with straw, only because we had become accustomed to the oppressive process. Y'all don't hear me today. We couldn't fathom that we would have to learn a new, I'm talking to myself. We couldn't fathom that we would have to learn a new way of being, a new way of making it. And guess what? That it was in us all along, and that there would be, what was it? A pillar of light by night and a cloud by day to follow us, and that God's presence would always be with us. I want to tell you, you've been going around this mountain long enough. Resume your journey. 50 days into the new year, resume your journey. You've been moving around it, and what this book tells us, what this representation by our dear sibling lets us know, that when we decide that life is different but can still be beautiful after such loss, then we open up and like have a watershed moment. Then what the text says, the windows of heaven open and pour us out a blessing that we don't have room enough to bear. Then when we get honest, then when we speak it, when we speak to it, then we write, then we create, then we do, then we be. What folks got to say now? Candace all up on the billboards. In Times Square she was. It should give you inspiration. It should give you inspiration. Hey. You should be inspired. You should be inspired. My goodness, today. Ashe, Ashe. You should be inspired right now. Yeah. You should be getting in position and ready to support any and everyone else that connects with your spirit who is getting or already in position. Resume. And I'm going to tell the truth, and it may be unpopular amongst my colleagues, but I'm going to tell the truth. Because I'm going to own. Wait, I'm not going, because these are never been my sentiments, but I'm going to name what others won't, because they're too busy moving around the mountain of envy. Here's the truth. For those, I'm talking about black folk now in the academy, and definitely black folk, period, and definitely black women, because that's always my focus. The truth is, my God, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just catching this download. I'm thinking of what Mama E.T. Hari has shared about education. That for us in the West, education is training. You can also see that clip on my Pink Road Chronicles IG and Facebook pages. That education, Dr. E.T. Hari Toure says, here in the West is really training. And training is good. We need training. Training is important. Like many of us were trained with manners. And if you are of a particular generation, those manners saved your life, literally. Training is good. But training is not the same as touching the spirit. Many of us in the academy have been trained. We've not been activated to touch the spirit. And not only do we need to tell the truth about the church being a stumbling block, but we need to tell the truth about the academy being a stumbling block. And so, because we have to write, for those of us who desire to receive tenure, which is a process of external validation of peers you may know or not, who determine whether or not your work is worthy enough, has enough depth, has value enough to be validated. And as a result of that validation, then your peers and other spaces, along with the folks at your institution, then take a vote. And if that vote is affirmative, then it affirms that you have what it takes. It affirms that you have what it takes, and it acknowledges all of the hard work. I'm not dismissing that. All of the hard work that has been done, all of the blood, the sweat, the tears, and that you have learned to write in a particular way that is accepting to your guild. But often those who show up in a different way are often find this road hard to journey, to travel. What am I saying? Most of us have been trained, not activated to touch the spirit. But most of us want to have this type of trade success. I'm gonna give you. I'm just gonna say it. And anybody who tells you outside of someone who is a super senior scholar and who is on the sunset part of their career, Anyone who tells you that they don't want to have a broader reach, that they want more than 12 people or the 100 people that are in their guild to read their work, that they wouldn't mind seeing their own image up in Times Square, anybody who tells you that they don't in the academy, I would suggest is not really being truthful. Because a large part of this work is about performance, like a large part of the work of the preacher is about performing. Friend, let me, I want to say, and that the crisis that Black folk in the academy are experiencing now, to your point, Dr. Irie, is trying to figure out, yes, how to have the courage to leverage our education and learning to create a space for ourselves. Candace created a space by resuming her journey. You can create a space by resuming your journey, but we're going to have to admit some things and how we have shown up in some ways that have not been helpful. Ashe. Resuming. We're going to have to admit that. So I just first want to say, Candace Bimbo, wherever you are in the world right now, we want to say thank you. We want to thank you for blessing, for being a blessing to us, Ashe, for writing or penning the words that many of us have wanted to pen. We say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ashe. Thank you. Y'all, it has been a beautiful time, a beautiful morning of sharing with you all. As usual, I'm thankful for your presence. I invite you to share and to sow into this good soil right here. Thank you for helping us get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube this morning. If you've not already subscribed, I want to invite you to do so now. If you want to be a blessing to us and sow here on this soil, you can do so through Venmo. That's our Venmo tag right there. I want to thank you in advance for how you will be a blessing so that we can continue to do this work here in this space and in other spaces. You can also use our Pink Robe Chronicles PayPal. Our Pink Robe Chronicles PayPal. You can use that. Ashe. Now, this is the part where, many people drop off, at the offering part. Not y'all who are the solid folks all the time, but this is when we go here, I see the numbers drastically drop on the feed. And that's challenging for me, for anyone who does the work that we do, because it is labor, spiritual labor as such, but it's labor. And we give, I'm not going to harp here because I don't like a gift that came from begging, but let me use words. I spend enormous amounts of money at Target. It's a real problem that I acknowledge. Target only just started in the last 2 years, and I think maybe, with the uprisings, carrying or making space for Black creators and having a whole display. My point is that Target is a corporation, And Target's concern about me is only as much as I can give my earned money to them. Target is not concerned about my spiritual life. Target is not concerned about my thank you, Phoenix. Target is not concerned about all that we just said. Target wants to make sure that it draws me in as other capitalistic structures so that I can continue to support it. So what I'm asking or inviting you to do is to participate, is to engage in an act of reciprocity, giving back what has been given, that together we may keep doing this work. Ashe. That is why I and other spiritual content creators that you are maybe a part of their communities engage so. Because we spend time and we love. And for many of us, this is what resuming our journey looks like. For many of us, this is the work that our souls must have. And our souls must also eat. Ashe. So I invite you again to consider the ways that you may share with us. Saying hey to everybody again who are on YouTube. Thank you so much for being with us. Tell all your friends we on YouTube now. Thank you to our recession for getting us back on YouTube, for connecting us. Two things I want to say. The Zoom link is here. We just put it up. Our DigiDeacon Natasha Robinson has it up there on the screen. You can go there and wait in the waiting room now. I want to make two announcements. One, for those of you who are registered for the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference that begins tonight, I want to invite you to a session on tomorrow, Monday, which is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Central Time, called Sisters of the Rock, Do You Want to Be Well? Led by myself and my sister soror friend, Dr. Akosawa Lasane. We are very proud of the presentation that we put together as we talk about and provide strategies for healing and what that looks like for us, what it has looked like for us. We are coming to this in a non-traditional way. So, just come open. I won't tell you more than that. Just come open and ready. So invite you to go ahead if you are a registered participant on the, is it called Hova site, and add our session to your agenda. Last time I checked, it was like 197 people registered for our session. So that's phenomenal. I think there are over 600 people registered for the virtual, the entire virtual conference, but come on in the room. Second, I want to tell you quickly that I want you to save the date. Within the next week, I will make a proper announcement with visuals and all. I want you to save the date, Saturday, March 26th, Saturday, March 26th, Saturday, March 26th, Saturday, March 26th, from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with intermittent breaks in between. I want to invite you to come to the inaugural What Will It Take virtual clearing series, where we converse about what will it take, from convention to invention, where we are talking about what will it take for you to move from your conventional spaces, your conventional 9 to 5, your conventional church houses, to inventing something that is already present, right? This is what Candace has done. This is what so many others have done. And so I know that many of us are on the cusp. This is what Dasha has done, this saint who's on here. There are so many of us who have done it, but then there are still so many more who desire but who are scared. and they want some practical, they want to hear people testify, and then they also want to know, so how did you deal with the fear of financial instability, right? How did you get to the partnership to be able to do X, Y, and Z? So I am super, super pleased. We've sent out all of our invitations. We've been receiving back our confirmations so far. I'm pleased to announce that the Reverend Dr. Judge Penny Brown Reynolds has agreed and will come and testify. The coach Shayla Herndon Edmonds has agreed and will come and testify. Ashe. Dr. Akosawa Lasane has agreed and will come and testify. And there are others. So I hope that you will come. It is a ticketed event that will be on Eventbrite. And so this is me getting out of the boat that fear built. Ashe. Right? This is me getting out of the boat that fear built. This is me practicing what I'm preaching, which means then that there is a price attached to it, Ashe, and that is important. So I hope that you will support this offering that is presented, the clearing presented by Pink Robe Chronicles, this virtual clearing. I'm looking forward. We are going to have a time, an excitement time. And if you've ever been in the clearing, like the clearing that we go to right after here, then you know it's about to be lit. Okay? So I want you all to have a great day, have a great rest of your week. Thank you, Natasha. If you want to connect with me more, please go to my website. Yes, go to my website, drmelvasampson.com, and please register, log in your email so that you can become a part of our mailing list. I haven't mailed out anything yet, y'all. I'm coming. I absolutely need a team. So for those of you who have been praying and you want to connect, there are some gifts that you have that you believe that will be helpful, that you are at this point even interested in bartering, with services or just helping in on the ground up. We need I need a team. It's just me and the volunteering on Sundays of Natasha and many others who come in. But, a consistent team will be beautiful. Okay, I've talked enough. I'm going over to the Zoom now. God bless. I'll see all of you who plan on coming through to the clearing so that we can do some more things. I'll see